have two stories to share. One couple that I'm currently coaching. And then story two, this woman found me on Instagram. So I want to tell you about one couple that I'm currently coaching. Like, they had a great time dating. They got married and they had a baby last summer. They really were in love. Everything was going very well, including the first few months after the baby was born. And then she went back to work in November. She works in a very male-dominated construction company in San Francisco. So she was spending all day in this construction company environment, coming home and just being really worn out. And they reached out to me because she just couldn't see any way forward. She really wanted to separate and figure out harmonious co-parenting because she just felt worn out and unsupported in her relationship, which not very long ago was wonderful. And each week there's been some new painful complication. And then 2 weeks ago, I assigned her not to worry about his feelings, to just say what she needed to say it with kindness, not like to be vomiting venom. Mostly the thing that inspired her not to do that was because it would train her child to speak that way. But the point is to be kind, but just to stop worrying about his feelings. And so if she had something to say it. If she didn't feel like saying it, she didn't need to say it. She didn't need to give some explanation that would work for him. She didn't need to micromanage how it was going to land for him, to just completely stop paying attention to how his feelings would be when she expressed herself. And the most miraculous thing has happened because she's completely forgotten about separating. Their home went from feeling super toxic to both of them to being really peaceful. The last 2 sessions, they've been like, well, I'm not really sure what we should work on or what we should talk about because there really hasn't been anything coming up. And so all of the coaching was really in some ways to layer things in to get to the point to be able to say to her, just don't worry about his feelings. He's a grown-up, he can take care of them. So that's like story one. And then story two, this woman found me on Instagram. She has a podcast. It's called Beautiful People. And she did an interview with me. She was a single woman. And we spent a lot of time talking about desires. And so in that context, I said, well, what do you desire in a relationship? And that was a completely new question to her. And it just hadn't occurred to her to think about what she desired. We talked about it a little bit, and I actually have a course about desires, which she then bought and did. And she had so much come from that she had me back for a second interview to describe her results. And so what she described is that once she got clear on what she actually wanted, she was dating this super appealing guy. For the first time in her life, she found the courage and the vulnerability to say to this man that what she actually wanted is a relationship. And she fully expected him to hear that and walk away. But now they have a great relationship because it turned out that her saying what she wanted, which is in this conversation code for setting a boundary, and he loved it. He responded, and they never would have had that relationship if she hadn't actually said that it's what she wanted. And so we'll be talking about boundaries, but boundaries often seems like no, like a boundary, we think of it as like putting up a fence. It's saying no to something. And I want to introduce that boundaries also includes opening the door and saying yes to something. It was up to him whether or not he wanted to walk through it. But either way, it's being clear about what we want. And it's probably good to practice boundaries with saying no, but there's some wonderful boundaries to be made when we have the courage to say yes.